going on, guys? It's Cynical and welcome back to another Kingdom Hearts 3 news and information video. Today for you guys, I wanted to sit down and talk about a few of the different scenes that we saw within the most recent trailer. Now, I'm going to be doing a few different videos sort of like this where we do talk about a few of the different things within the trailer. In today's video, I wanted to talk about Destiny Islands, Demyx, and Vexen, as I've absolutely been itching to talk about these three things in particular. So without further ado, let's just dive straight into it. First things first, let's talk about Destiny Islands, as this kind of caught me off guard, but absolutely awesome that we got to see the very sort of like first Kingdom Hearts 3 scene ever, but now of course all updated. And I guess that now that we're seeing this within the trailer with Sora wearing his Kingdom Hearts 3 attire, obviously it's canon. So we weren't really too sure if that scene that we saw within the very first Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer was actually canon to that of the story. Sometimes for like promotional purposes or within the sort of CG cinematics, there are certain things that happen within those that don't actually end up happening in the game itself. But cool to see that this scene is now considered canon, and even furthermore, it's cool to see it with Sora wearing his Kingdom Hearts 3 attire opposed to that of his Kingdom Hearts 2 attire. Just simply comparing both scenes side by side, I would say that when looking towards the 2013 scene right here, there's a lot less textures going on, and also keeping in mind that the scene that we're seeing right here is made from the Luminos engine, whereas the more recent scene of Destiny Islands is obviously from the Unreal Engine 4. Square ended up switching engines back in 2014, but yeah, I've got to say it looks a lot better now. It doesn't look so Play-Doh-y and blocky, and seeing this side by side really goes to show just how much progress Square have made on Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, keeping in mind that these are two completely different game engines, still a lot of progress has been made. But let's talk about this scene in itself. Yes, it's the famous scene of Sora picking up the Master's Defender Keyblade off of the shore of Destiny Islands, and now we know it's going to be in the actual game. Now, the reason why this got me excited was not really just so much the context of what was going on in this scene, but more so Sora is on Destiny Islands, right? He's with Goofy as well. So I want to go out here on a whim and say that Destiny Islands is, fingers crossed, hopefully a playable world in the game. I've been grasping onto this idea for the longest time. Like, of course, Treasure Planet is my most wanted world. At this point, it's probably not coming, but if I were to have to pick a favorite Kingdom Hearts world that's not Disney-based, it's got to hands down be Destiny Islands. And being able to fully explore this world, but within, you know, next generation textures, graphics, and visuals, man, that would just be an absolute treat. However, we know that at some point throughout the game, we will be making our way to that of Destiny Islands, which is super cool. For whatever reason, who exactly knows, but I would say that this is likely to be towards the sort of end portion of the game. It would seem that Aqua ends up disbandoning the Master's Defender, most likely at the Dark Margin, and eventually the Keyblade found itself on the shore of Destiny Islands. This is a very similar scenario to that of the message in the bottle situation in Kingdom Hearts 2, where Kairi ended up sending a message in a bottle to that of Sora by sending it off of the shore of Destiny Islands, in which it eventually found its way to that of the shore of the Dark Margin, where Sora and Riku were at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. So, a very similar concept. Goofy in this scene mentions that apparently this Keyblade will be the guiding key, and again, Goofy is dropping these lines like he's been saying them for the past, I don't know, 16 years of this series being an actual thing. It's hilarious that only with the release of 2.8, Goofy is now saying the "May your heart be your guiding key" quote every freaking chance he can get. I know there's some wild theories going around as of right now that Goofy could potentially be the Master of Masters, and the way he's going at the moment, gosh dang it, it probably wouldn't surprise me. So now that we know that at some point throughout Kingdom Hearts 3, Aqua becomes a Xehanort vessel or is possessed by that of darkness, and from the seams of it, this ends up happening in that of the Dark Margin. It wouldn't surprise me if the point in time where Aqua actually loses the Master's Defender is during this this point, because really, what is the reason behind Aqua actually disbanding her Keyblade? I think with her ultimately being possessed or becoming a darkness vessel, it makes sense that she would get rid of the Keyblade in the hope that the Keyblade would eventually come across someone who would eventually save her. Keeping in mind that Aqua does know about Sora, she was informed about Sora at the end of Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep when she makes her way to the Dark Margin and has the conversation with Diz. So maybe she ends up sending the Keyblade away in the hopes that Sora will eventually come across it. Alright, and last up, let's talk about Vexen and Demyx, because of course in the trailer we got to see that these two are back, and I know that a lot of people were excited over Demyx's return, myself included. I was clinging on to the idea that he would be a good guy. Like I said, my ideal vision for Demyx would be for him to be in his human form, chilling in Radiant Garden, strumming his sitar, and he's got like his own problems or something going on. You know, just typical Demyx stuff, but he is a darkness. He's a vessel, so let's talk about Demyx first. So the thing that I'm really curious about is the sort of reasoning behind why Xehanort thought that Demyx specifically was to be a vessel. Now there's got to be a reason, or more so a purpose, behind why Xehanort is choosing these individuals to be vessels for his greater cause. And specifically when you look at Demyx, and if you guys have played Days, you really do get a better understanding and grasp towards each organization member's personality throughout that game, as you're able to interact with dialogue or the characters whilst you're in the sort of lobby or waiting room before you go on your missions. There's a lot of interesting stuff you can actually find out about with just interacting with the characters in that room. Demyx, as we find out in 358 over 2 days, and sort of in Kingdom Hearts 2, is a lazy boy. He's not really the type of dude who likes to go out and do work and get things done, and also it kind of seems as if he doesn't really like to be bossed around all too much. However, as we saw in Kingdom Hearts 2, when Demyx gets serious, boy does he get serious. The Dance Water Dance has to go down as one of the most iconic fights in Kingdom Hearts 2, and it was strange seeing this almost wimp turn into somewhat of a hard boy within the space of 1 minute. But it was some really cool character development for Demyx. So it's cool to see that he's back in Kingdom Hearts 3, and specifically speaking, a darkness as well. Again, I want to know why Xehanort decided this guy was fit to be a vessel. However though, it would seem as if he is definitely up to some more important tasks in Kingdom Hearts 3, as we did get to see a very small scene of Demyx appearing out of a corridor of darkness, and it looks like he's approaching Zexion in the lab area of Radiant Garden. Now we can clearly see Demyx holding some sort of person wrapped in a towel or a sheet, and this might be quite reminiscent to a few of you guys who have played Birth by Sleep, the very first scene where we see Xehanort holding an unconscious Ventus over his shoulder in the same kind of sheet or towel on Destiny Islands. Now, as we saw in the trailer, it seems to be that Xehanort and his flunkies do have a hold of Ventus, and we will be talking about this in an entirely different video. But could it be that Demyx was the messenger boy to go collect that Ventus? We don't know exactly who this person is underneath the sheet or towel that Demyx is carrying, but the similarities between the Xehanort scene at the start of BBS to this scene it's very similar, so I don't know, this could be an unconscious Ven on Demyx's shoulders. Now let's move over to Vexen, because we also got the reveal that Vexen is back, and yes, he is going to be a darkness. I think quite a few of us were sort of expecting this. At the same time, not so much really as well, because the voice actor behind Vexen had mentioned that he hadn't been called up and that he hadn't done any sort of voice work for the character, keeping in mind that from time to time voice actors do like to say that kind of thing just to stop people from prying at them and poking them to get information out of them. So hence the reason that's probably why the English VA for Vexen said those words. But Vexen is back, and yes, he is a vessel. Now, the last time, of course, we saw Vexen was back in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, so yeah, it's been a little while. And I think it is kind of fairly obvious as to why Xehanort probably chose Vexen. He was the one behind the replica program in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and is the one responsible behind Replica's existence. So I could definitely see how Xehanort could hone in on Vexen's skills of being able to make replicas. We also see a very, very small little conversation between Demyx and Vexen as well. It looks like Vexen is talking, and he's saying it's true, this whole plan was his idea. Now, Now, of course, we don't know the context behind this, or even who they're referring to when they're saying this whole plan was his idea. Who exactly is his? I think the first assumption would, of course, be Xehanort, and maybe for some of the different vessels, they'll eventually realize the true intentions and ambitions behind Xehanort. It'll be interesting to see how Xehanort's plan directly affects the other vessels that are following behind him, and whether or not a couple or maybe even a few of them decide to pull out at a certain point. Although really I can't see this happening because Xehanort would need all 13 of his vessels there at the Keyblade Graveyard for the ultimate clash to go down. But I think the dynamic of seeing some of the vessels actually talking about Xehanort's plans and intentions and whether it is for the greater good will be some really interesting dialogue to see. Now we also know that Repliku is going to potentially be in Kingdom Hearts 3. As of right now, it's not entirely confirmed that this person right here is Repliku. Nomura did mention that this could be an illusion, so we're not entirely too sure. But going on the contrary that this is Repliku, I definitely think the first initial encounter between Vexen and Repliku, if it does happen, is going to be very interesting. In the end, Repliku did find out about why he exists and exactly what the organization were using him for, and so I can only imagine the amount of anger and hatred towards especially someone like Vexen, the very person responsible for Repliku's existence. And even furthermore, Vexen meeting up with Axel again, we have to keep in mind that Axel was the one that like utterly destroyed Vexen in Chain of Memories. And when I say utterly destroyed, like he fucking destroyed this man. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see all of these different characters sort of meeting up again and seeing what comes out of it. Now the last thing I also wanted to talk about with this scene is the location as well. I sort of feel as if this is Radiant Garden, and honestly speaking, I think by now, Radiant Garden should be an expected world. It's appeared a lot throughout cutscenes, specifically the lab area so far, but I definitely do feel as if the location that these two are standing in as of right now is somewhere near like the castle walls or just somewhere in the town itself. But guys, that's pretty much it for today's video. I wanted to talk about Destiny Islands and these two darknesses as soon as I could. I gotta say, it's absolutely fantastic to see that Demyx is back. Cannot wait to see how his personality sort of rolls out with Kingdom Hearts 3, especially now that Xehanort is sort of influenced throughout him. I wonder if he will be a lazy boy in KH3, or maybe he's going to be up and at him. Who exactly knows? However guys, I'm Cynical. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day. In the comment section down below, let me know your thoughts and opinions. However guys, until next time, I'll catch you later. Peace.